A man fires a rifle point blank into a wolf 3 times its normal size. The bullets hit. The wolf doesn't fall, doesn't flinch, doesn't bleed. It just turns and walks into the trees. And by the time anyone reaches the spot, the tracks stop dead in open snow, as if the animal had simply stopped existing. That's not a campfire story. That's a sworn account from the family who owned a 512-acre cattle ranch in northeastern Utah in the 1990s, and it's just the opening incident in what would become one of the most scientifically investigated pieces of private property in American history. Skinwalker Ranch sits in the Uinta Basin of northeastern Utah, a stretch of high desert bordered by the Uinta and Ouray Indian Reservation, home to the Ute tribe. The ranch itself is unremarkable to look at. Sagebrush, a small river, a scatter of outbuildings, but the region around it has carried a reputation for strange sightings since long before it had a name. Locals had been reporting unexplained lights and aerial phenomena in the area as far back as the 1950s and 60s, and Spanish missionaries passing through in the 1700s reportedly recorded seeing unexplained fireballs in the sky over the same basin. The ranch was originally known simply as Sherman Ranch, after the family that would put it on the map, and the name most people know it by now, Skinwalker Ranch, comes directly from Navajo folklore. A skinwalker, in Navajo tradition, is a malevolent witch capable of transforming into animals to do harm. It's worth saying plainly, this is a real and serious part of Navajo belief, not a marketing gimmick, and the ranch's adoption of the name has always sat uneasily with that fact, something we'll come back to later. There's a local legend layered on top of the folklore too. Historians who study the region point to a long-standing account of friction between the Navajo and the Ute, two distinct peoples whose territories once bordered each other. According to that account, a dispute involving captives and territory led the Navajo to curse the ground, and the curse followed the basin down through the generations. It's a story passed between locals more than a documented historical record, but it's part of why the strangeness in this specific patch of desert gets tied to skinwalkers at all, even though the ranch itself sits on land historically associated with the Ute, not the Navajo. And the odd sightings go back further than most people realize. In 1776, a Spanish Franciscan missionary named Silvestre Vélez de Escalante, passing through the region on an overland expedition, wrote in his own journal about strange fireballs in the sky, a detail modern UFO researchers now point to as evidence the phenomenon, whatever it is, predates any ranch, any family, and any television show by more than 2 centuries. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman bought the ranch, hoping for a quiet life raising cattle with their kids. Almost immediately, according to their own later accounts, things went wrong. Cattle began dying in ways that didn't match predator activity. Precise, surgical wounds, organs missing, and in some reported cases, no blood found at the scene at all, despite the animal having been effectively gutted. Then came the sightings. Hovering lights described as glowing orange spheres and blue orbs moving with no regard for how aircraft are supposed to move. Crop circle-like markings appearing in the fields overnight, and repeated encounters with large animals that seemed immune to gunfire. The incident with the oversized wolf, which Terry Sherman said he shot multiple times at close range with no visible effect, became one of the ranch's defining stories. The family also described disembodied voices, structures they said appeared and disappeared, and a persistent, unsettling feeling of being watched. After roughly 2 years of this, worn down and frightened, the Shermans went public, first through the Salt Lake City Deseret News, and then in a series of investigative pieces by journalist George Knapp in the Las Vegas Mercury. Then they sold the ranch for around $200,000, a modest price for 500 acres, which skeptics would later point to as evidence the family simply wanted out at any cost, rather than evidence they were trying to cash in on a hoax. That newspaper coverage caught the attention of Robert Bigelow, a Las Vegas real estate and aerospace billionaire with a long-standing personal interest in UFOs and the paranormal. In 1996, Bigelow bought the ranch outright and turned it into the private research site for his organization. the National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS. This wasn't a couple of guys with flashlights. NIDS brought in PhD-level scientists, former military intelligence officers, and round-the-clock surveillance, infrared cameras, magnetometers, radiation detectors, and put a security perimeter around the whole property. And here's the part that keeps the story alive rather than closing it. The NIDS team reported experiencing many of the same things the Shermans had. Investigators described strange animals with glowing eyes that bullets and even physical barriers didn't seem to affect, lights that defied simple explanation, and something stranger still, equipment that mysteriously malfunctioned at exactly the moments it might have caught something on tape. One consultant, a retired Army intelligence officer named John Alexander, would later describe the sense that whatever was happening seemed to anticipate the team's next move, calling it a precognitive, sentient intelligence, as if the ranch itself were reacting to being watched rather than just being watched.
This is from Steve Rubio. Did your time and experiences at Skinwalker Ranch confirm or disprove any assumptions or beliefs you had about reality, spirituality, etc.?
Well, are we limited to Skinwalker? I mean, that's one of the problems. We did spend time. I was with Bob the day he bought the ranch, and actually was the first one to spend the night up there, and the most anomalous thing that happened was the mosquito bites at that time. Having said that, it's a very, very strange place, and we can go into some of the things that go on. I know you had Brendan Fugel on as the owner, and know him. Did it confirm or deny? I'll tell you, the last paragraph of my UFO book ends, I should say, first paragraph is UFOs are real, and it ends that says, whatever this is, it is more complex than you can possibly imagine. One of the takeaways from the ranch is something that I call precognitive sentient phenomena. And the point there is that there's a it, and I do not know how to describe an it, but it is in control. We never were in control. And when I said precognitive, I meant by that, it seemed to know how we would respond before an event occurred. And it's certainly sentient, smart, and certainly phenomenological. And I know Brandon has picked up on the precognitive sentient and talks about it now. And I don't think it's any single thing. It is terribly, terribly complex.
Skeptics have their own name for the same pattern: confirmation bias operating on a team primed by their own employer's interests to interpret static and glitches as something deliberate. And then it got worse for anyone hoping for a clean answer. After years of intensive monitoring, NIDS never produced a single piece of conclusive physical evidence. Biochemist Colm Kelleher, who worked on the investigation and later co-authored the 2005 book Hunt for the Skinwalker with George Knapp, put it plainly, years of focused study yielded very little that could be called proof of anything. That might have been the end of it, if not for what came next. In 2007, Nevada Senator Harry Reid, working alongside Senators Daniel Inouye and Ted Stevens, secured $22 million in Department of Defense funding for a program originally called the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program. Bigelow's aerospace company won the contract to run it, and Skinwalker Ranch became one of its focal points. The program later became known publicly as AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, and its existence only came to light years afterward through Freedom of Information Act requests and reporting that followed 2017. That's the detail that changes how people read this whole story. This wasn't just a private eccentric millionaire chasing lights in the desert on his own dime. The United States government, through official defense channels, decided this site and phenomena like it were worth millions of taxpayer dollars to investigate. The program lost its funding around 2012. Former intelligence official Luis Elizondo, who later became a public face of the Pentagon's broader UFO disclosure efforts, has said part of the reason was that officials feared the public would see the whole thing as a misappropriation of taxpayer funds if word got out, which, given how the story eventually broke anyway, turned out to be a fairly accurate prediction. Skeptics of the whole affair, and there are credible ones, point out that the government took it seriously enough to fund it is not the same thing as the government found something real. Funding a study is not proof of a conclusion. In 2016, Bigelow sold the ranch to a company called Adamantium Real Estate for roughly $500,000. Its owner kept anonymous for 4 years. Roads were gated, cameras and barbed wire went up, and public access effectively ended. In 2020, the mystery buyer revealed himself, Brandon Fugel, a Utah real estate mogul who partnered with the History Channel to launch a docuseries called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. The show follows Fugel's assembled team, including astrophysicist Travis Taylor and a group of field investigators, using ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR mapping, drones, and even small rocket launches to probe anomalies said to occur above and below the property. It has become one of History Channel's most successful series, running for multiple seasons and introducing the ranch to a far wider audience than George Knapp's newspaper columns ever reached. The show presents itself as bringing hard science to a place that spent decades stuck in rumor. Its critics say it's presented investigation as entertainment, editing ambiguous readings and inconclusive tests into cliffhangers, which is a very different thing from actually resolving anything. The change in ownership brought a change in access too, and not everyone was happy about it. Not long after Adamantium Real Estate took over in 2016, a public road that had run through the property for years was gated off, and the new owners later petitioned the county to formally vacate it, citing persistent trespassing by curious visitors. That's a mundane, unglamorous detail next to shape-shifting wolves and government funding. But it's a useful reminder that whatever else is happening at Skinwalker Ranch, it's also a functioning piece of private real estate whose owners have entirely ordinary reasons to control who walks onto it. Strip away the television production and the recurring claims at Skinwalker Ranch fall into a few consistent categories. First, aerial phenomena, glowing orbs, triangular lights, and objects that reportedly move in ways conventional aircraft can't, going back decades before any of the named investigators arrived. Second, animal encounters and mutilations, livestock found with precise, bloodless wounds, and sightings of oversized, seemingly injury-resistant creatures that witnesses associate with the Skinwalker legend, even though, notably, the ranch sits in Ute territory, not Navajo land, some 400 miles from the Navajo Nation. Third, equipment interference, cameras, sensors, and electronics repeatedly failing or being damaged at key moments, a pattern investigators across multiple eras of ownership have independently reported. And fourth, more general disturbances. Unexplained structures or markings appearing overnight, physical sensations like nausea and headaches in certain areas of the property, and reports that some investigators describe as poltergeist-like activity. What's consistent across nearly 50 years of these accounts, told by ranchers, scientists, and TV producers alike, is the shape of the story. What's inconsistent is the evidence, after millions of dollars, decades of surveillance, and a passionate community of researchers, nobody has produced a single piece of hard physical proof that would settle the matter for skeptics. Maybe that's the real story of Skinwalker Ranch. Not a place where something impossible happened, but a place that proved how far money, fear, and a good name can carry a mystery when nobody involved actually wants it solved. Hey guys, InkLore here. I want to say thank you for watching the video. If you liked the video, like and subscribe for more, and comment down below how I could improve. I am planning on making more video on this format. Thanks for watching.